Oh, yeah, everybody. It is Saturday afternoon, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. It's the off season. It's the off season. We have to find some filler in here to kind of get us through to the regular season, to real football. So I am going to try and take the leap here. I'm going to try fantasy football. You are watching fantasy football for dummies. If you're a dummy, raise your hand. I'm a dummy when it comes to fantasy football. So that's why I ended up getting somebody, I say he's an expert, but he's like, no, I'm just a dude that knows a dude with a voodoo doll that plays fantasy football. But Stuart Morrison, who has been, let's kill the music. Stuart Morrison, who has been a friend of the channel for a long time now. We've worked together with Dream to Walk, his charity and things. Has helped actually my wife kick ass in fantasy football last year, is going to help us with fantasy football. So, Stuart, how are you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. How you doing, boss?
It's hot, boss.
And I don't mean boss as an employer. That's just kind of how I talk about
damn
friends.
hot, boss. All right. Here's what I want you to understand, Stuart. Stuart, I don't like fantasy football.
I'm well aware of this.
I even talked to my dad today. I went by my parents' house, and I was explaining to my dad. He's like, well, what you doing the rest of the day? I said, well, I got to go by Collector's World and see my man about, getting my Jobu jerseys done. And then I got to go back. I said, I'm going to be meeting with my friend Stuart Morrison, and we're going to be talking about fantasy football. And he said, fantasy football? He said, you mean the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl again? I said, yeah, that seems like it's just a fantasy right now, Dad. I said, no. I said, fantasy football. I said, I don't get it. He said, well, what is it? He said, you end up rooting for players on different teams. I said, basically, you're looking for the quarterback that's got the best, that's going to have the best game, the running back that's going to have the best game, and wide receiver. And he said, well, how does that work with just Cowboy players? And I said, exactly. I said,
well, it's a good year to be a Cowboys fan in fantasy football.
Well,
we can start there.
I explained to him that you might want to have, like say Carson Wentz one week, with the Eagles. He's like, nah. I said, seriously. I said, that's why I just can't get into it. It's just something wrong about rooting for players. That's the enemy to me. So that's my attitude, okay? And the meme where the guy's sitting there, he's drinking a beverage, he's got the sign, blah, 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 change my mind. Well, Stuart, changed my mind.
Changed my mind. Mm-hmm.
So tell me, pretend that I am a Martian. I just landed here, and I know nothing about fantasy football. Go.
Right. Well, I'm kind of thinking about this because we all know you hate fantasy football. And one of the things that I find funny about that is the thing that drives you nuts the most is people that come in and talk about trade anybody anywhere.
Oh my! That's ruined football.
We'll get into some of that later in the season. There's people that play for different reasons, and But I agree with you that to some extent, fantasy football, it drives me nuts when I hear trade this guy and they play fantasy football with real football players, and that's not how it works. But fantasy football itself, for me, the reason that I started playing with a group of people at work. I love competition. I love games. I love football. I'm a big Cowboys fan. Been a big Cowboys fan my whole life. But fantasy football allowed me to do a couple of things. It allowed me to compete with friends. It opened my eyes to the entire National Football League. And it just enriches the whole NFL experience for me personally. The issue that a lot of people have, I know you have, and when we get on about Jobu's mutts, we won't have any of those stinking Eagles on our teams. That handicaps us a little bit, but I'm not too worried about the Eagles players on that team. But for me, in my personal leagues, I don't mind having players from other teams on it because I'm not rooting for the enemy to win. if I have Jalen Hurts, I don't want Philly to win. But what can Jalen Hurts do? When you look at the basics, your quarterbacks, you get most leagues, and leagues vary. People adjust the scoring. You got to be aware of your scoring before you draft and start playing. But for the most part, quarterbacks get a point for every 25 yards they throw. Some leagues it's 4 points a touchdown. Some it's 6. Your running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, a point for every 10 yards they run, 6 points for a touchdown. Well, with Jalen Hurts throws the ball and he runs really well. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is a really good quarterback, but he's their young quarterback that they spent a second-round pick on. We did see the team kind of rally behind him last year when he was in there, right? Versus Carson, who, well, he's not even there anymore, and they're paying him more money than we're paying Dak just to get out the building. But Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia, I don't want them to win. I just need Jalen to have a good game statistically.
But see, you know what? I think maybe it's a generational thing. See, hear me out for a second here.
All right.
When I grew up, okay, there wasn't really free agency. There were trades between teams and stuff, but pretty much when you had a player, Randy White was going to be a Dallas Cowboy for his whole career. And these guys didn't go work out with each other in the offseason or anything like that. They were the sworn enemy. And see, the difference now is, you see the guys trading jerseys, right? And they're buddies. They're working out together. You had Des Bryant working with Pat Mahomes and, and Dak and, all over. It's just something that's just not natural to me with my upbringing of rooting. I understand that you're hoping for him to play really well, but then to lose. I just have a hard time just wanting him to play really well. I just want all of the Eagles to be just ass.
I didn't even necessarily play really well. I just need the stats. Let me throw it at you this way.
Okay.
Our guy, Dak Prescott, number 4 right here.
Uh-huh.
Before he got hurt, on a points per game basis, Dak was number 1 in fantasy football, according to Fantasy Football Pro Stats.
Even though everybody says he's ass.
How many games did Dak win in those first 5 games?
They won 2 or 3.
Where did a lot of those yards come from? People give Dak shit about garbage time yards, which is kind of...
Well, when they were behind.
I don't want to hear that about Dak, because at least he put us where we could have won a lot of those games. But somebody like Jalen Hurts, I want the Eagles to be down 28-10 at halftime. So that Jalen has to come in and run his ass off and throw his ass off. They're still going to lose, but I'm getting more stats out of him because he's desperate. Trying to catch back.
I see your point
so
there.
From a gambling kind of aspect, the further you can get away from, and I get it because we're about 10 years apart, and I remember I just couldn't stand until I got into fantasy football. The further you can remove yourself from wearing your fan pride, the better you're going to do. But with the Dallas Cowboys, it's hard to do. It's impossible. If you're a fan, I want my guys. I've got 7 shares of Dak across 12 leagues. I've got 8 or 9 shares of CD. I've got all my guys in all the leagues. Parsons.
See, where it would work for me is if I just had like all Cowboy players, and they say you can't do that, and that's what I was trying to do.
You can.
With Sal, but it was too late, or because I didn't know how to draft when I was in the YouTube league and stuff. I'm too slow, so it was just kind of random. Next thing I know, I've got Carson Wentz and I forgot the running back. I'm just like, how the hell do I keep getting Eagle players on my damn team? I don't want them.
Who was lighting up your phone for about a month leading into that draft? Kind of waving his hand. Hey.
I missed it. I missed it.
But that led me to doing what? Helping Tracy with her league. Mm-hmm. And Dak, we had Dak. Boy, it broke my heart and it broke that team, but we recovered and we won that thing. And in getting to know Tracy and in getting to know her, getting to know you more, here we are. We've become friends over the last year, and we're talking fantasy football on your show, and you hate fantasy football. I'm not going to buck against anybody that wants to argue. I don't want to root for the enemy. Fine, you don't have to. And when we do Jobu's nuts again, we won't have any Eagles on our team. I wouldn't have done that to you.
Okay, all right.
But we'll have the problem is
good.
just like every league, it depends who you're with. The Jobu's nut, if Fosh does that league again, that's all Cowboys YouTube content creators. So it's going to be tough to have a lot of Cowboys. But we'll get our hands on those that we can. And it's a good year to do that. Dak's about to be comeback player of the year. All the hate about Dak, I used to get mad, and now I'm just kind of like, whatever, you're fucking stupid. You're either rooting against him so hard because you know it's coming, or you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because Dak's about to step on the field, and he's got Amari, and he's got CD, CD, and he's got Gallup, and he's got Jarwin, and he's got Schultz, and he's got Zeke, and he's got Pollard. And go kiss my white. Okay,
so but okay, now I'm gonna ask actually a contrarian question here then, because all right, I hear what you're saying, that Dak will be lighting the scoreboard up because of all the offensive weapons, the receivers, Tony Pollard, and everything else. Points wise, okay, hopefully he's not doing a whole lot of running out there where he's going to get hurt. But then on the flip side, because he has so many weapons, does that devalue then Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, because they're going to be sharing the load as opposed to a team that has only one great wide receiver?
No. And it also depends on what kind of league you're playing in. We've had discussions before on the phone, and I know it's talking French to you, but most of the leagues,
forget anything we've talked about on the phone, because there's people that are watching that are like me, that are like, I don't understand football. And generally speaking, when you don't understand something, you fear it or you hate it. You know what I'm saying? Until you get to know it. So we're trying to get like-minded old-ass people like me that are like, I ain't got time for fantasy football, to understand. Just basically, I know nothing about fantasy football, and that's the truth. That is honestly the truth. So, take me like I'm a little baby. I'm that Martian that just got dropped off here. Okay? So you're saying that there's different types of leagues. So what are the different types of leagues?
Well, the most popular leagues, I don't have numbers behind it, but from experience, I would probably say redraft leagues, where you draft a new team every year. Mm-hmm. Next year, you start off with a new team. Year to year, it's a new draft. It's a new team. The redraft leagues are the most popular. That's most year, like Tracy's leagues, the one that Vosh did last year for the content creators. Most of those are redraft leagues. And in those leagues, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, right now, it's not, does it diminish one or the other? They're both going to do really good, but who's going to do better? You have some people that are planted on Coop because of the track record. You got other people like me, and I love Coop. I've got Coop on the wall over here, but by the end of the year, CD is going to show the rest of the league who we've all been waiting. It's going to be so fun. I think CD is going to finish top 5, top 10 for fantasy football. Coop, he's going to do well, but I don't think he's going to have that ceiling. CD is really going to get his work in this year, is what I feel. So both of them are great fantasy football assets. Both of them are going to help you. I've got one team, one of my favorite teams. I've got Dak, CD, and Coop. And then on that team, it's in the second kind of league. Redraft Gallup is a later round kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that you want to get. So God forbid anything happens to Cooper or Lamb, you've got Gallup that can step in and give you that fantasy production and the real life team production. But going back to the different types of leagues, the redraft, and then you got dynasty. And dynasty.
So wait. So redraft would be like an annual plan. You got to plan it every year.
Correct.
Okay. The dynasty leagues would be like a perennial. So you start out with whatever you got, and then it's for multiple years.
Yeah. When you get into a dynasty league, you want to, if it's not a group of family and friends or coworkers or a group that you know really well, make sure that you kind of feel out where you're doing these dynasty leagues for. Dynasty league, from what my research and what talking to people and getting into I've been putting in a lot of time into fantasy football last couple months as we've been talking about maybe doing this. And you want to try to have that 3-year window because it's a long. I want to play to win now, but you want to have youth too. You don't want a bunch of guys that might be done in a year or two. You want to make sure you got youth, and every year after you have that first draft, then you add to your team the following year with the rookie draft. After the NFL draft, you draft the rookies, and dynasty is a long-term thing. Okay. I like Michael Gallup a lot in dynasty leagues because his role is already useful. There's weeks that Gallup's going to go off. We don't know when that's going to happen, but Gallup is going to have his weeks that he goes off. So if you're in a pinch, you got to throw Gallup into your lineup. He could produce for you. But where it gets tricky is what happens with Gallup next year. Well, whether we move on from Coop, which a world exists that could happen, if he disappears in away games again like he did 2 years ago, or God forbid he gets hurt, then we move on from Coop. We re-sign Gallup. Gallup gets the number 2 wide receiver role here in Dallas, and that's great.
Or, I could see something like that happening because you look at the money-wise, Michael Gallup is not going to get paid the same as Amari Cooper. You may still decide to keep him on the outside and get yourself another slot receiver instead. You know, I mean, but I could see something like that happening. So what you're saying is you know, you don't want to get somebody like, say, Julio Jones that's already 33 years old and, you know, 2 years from now might be really on the downside.
In dynasty and redraft, yes.
Okay.
Take Julio because
yeah, right. But I was talking about the dynasty.
Dynasty, no. And that's where Gallup comes into play. Whether something happens and he steps up to our number 2, or if he leaves and goes to another team. If he leaves and goes to another team, then he's going to have a bigger role with that new team. He's not going to go somewhere for a lesser role. He's going somewhere to get paid and to have a bigger role. So if you have Gallup now, you might have him as your number 2 here in Dallas, or right now he's a wide. They have tiers: wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, etc. Based on how well you do. Right now he's kind of a wide receiver 3, but if he goes to another team or he gets the number 2 role here, then he bumps up that scale and he's more valuable to you in year 2, year 3 down the road.
All right, so. When is the season? So, like, let's say for Dynasty League, since this is for multiple years, when do you start drafting that? I assume that the redrafts would be closer to training camp because we don't exactly know where people are going to be, or does that not matter?
You're already a better fantasy football player than you know. It's really basics. Redraft, yeah. The closer you want to wait, probably late July, early August, right before the season kicks off, because you don't know what kind of injuries you're going to have. You don't know what kind of trades are going to come. You don't know who's going to shine and have what roles. So the more information you can have going into draft day, the better. So redraft season, you'll start seeing that kick up late July, early August. Dynasty is pretty much year round. I started doing dynasty drafts for this year with my guy Alex Marino, aka Fantasy Football Hustler, one of the Discord communities and YouTube communities that I'm in for fantasy football, and we'll touch on the community aspect here in a minute. But we started drafting months ago with Dynasty, probably about a month after the season started. We got going, and you're really more like a general manager. So, it's just like player acquisition is 365 days a year in real football. For playing Dynasty, if you're that serious about fantasy football and you get into Dynasty, you're the GM 365 days a year. It has its
so Dynasty would be more for a really hardcore fantasy football player. Say a beginner probably wants to be in a redraft because they're going to screw up their draft, and you don't want to be stuck with players that are ass for 3 years. Okay, so typically, how many people would be in a league playing? What's the optimum?
I mean, for me, I prefer 12-man leagues. You can have
man or woman.
Person, yes. 10. I have a 10-man. I've been running a 10-man. Well, it was a 12-man until this past year. COVID and things got all kind of wonky. Now we're down to 10. But I've been running my league for 10 years. and it's a 10 to 12 man team. The crazy hardcores, they can get up to 16, 32 teams in a league, which is insane to me. 12, I think, is the perfect.
It's watered down a lot then, isn't it? I mean, if there's 32 teams in the league, you don't have 32 good quarterbacks out there.
12 is the sweet spot. 10 is pretty good too. Anything less, then you're really just every team is stacked, and there's nothing to it. It's just really who gets luckiest that week. So you want to have at least 10 to 12. Anything beyond that, then you really need to be more into fantasy football than just, hey, Bob says, do you want to play in the office league this year, type of thing.
Okay. So last year, Vosh had the YouTube creator league that I had Sal running for me.
Yeah,
and
that's Bosch. Bosch.
Well, that ended up going through ESPN, basically. So if you wanted to start your own league, you got a bunch of friends that are all novice, and you say, you know what, we don't know anything, you can go through like ESPN and set up a league, correct?
ESPN is the platform that I'm most used to. Sleeper is a growing platform. Sleeper is really good, but ESPN for beginners that's what I go with. Yeah, it's easy to follow. I mean, if I can figure it out, anybody can figure it out. I'm not tech savvy. But
okay.
ESPN's pretty.
If
pretty
I could figure it out, then anybody could.
People.
Stuart, you're really smart because I know you've been working really hard. Stuart has helped me out tremendously in things. In fact, I've got some great pieces like we share a Drew Pearson autograph plaque. He sent me one. He's got one as well, and it's really cool. Stuart has been there you go right there. Stuart has been working on a Discord channel because you guys know I am the old guy on the front porch telling you to get off my lawn, and change is hard for me. And so when all these new platforms and everything else kick in, I don't necessarily know it. Okay, I'm not on TikTok. I don't understand it. It's too short. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to be up there dancing because I can't dance. Okay. So Philly 500 has been talking about his Discord channel and things, and Stuart's been sharing me. This was on my Cowboys family's Discord chat, and I'm like, I don't know what a Discord is. Discord means, when I think of Discord, like people are upset. That's what I think of Discord when I hear Discord.
Now, Discord it's a specified community. It's kind of like a very custom Facebook. I only get on Facebook if I'm checking like birthdays, or I might post some music, maybe a photo from a family holiday. But Facebook is so negative. All those social media, I don't do social media platforms that much, but Discord, because it's communities that are sought out. I talked about my guy Alex Marino, Fantasy Football Hustler. Michael's got a Discord community. My Cowboys family's got a Discord community. Mm-hmm. We now are working on having our Discord community, and it's basically a place where, like when you do the live feeds on Fridays and Saturdays, and everybody's kicking in the chat and talking, you can come into Discord and chat with like-minded people talking about football, talking about the Cowboys. I'm working on figuring out how we're going to distinguish who the channel members are. But once I know it's a channel member and I assign them a certain role, then they'll have access to
more
community
details and stuff.
Just Jobu members, voice chat. Like on game days, it's basically one big phone call if everybody wants to jump on there and talk to each other on game day, that type of thing. It's just a place to communicate and have fun with people that are into the same things.
I think I understand now. Okay. You said Discord is for like-minded individuals, right?
Yeah.
That explains why nobody's invited me to their Discord channel. Because they don't like my mind. That's what it is. It all makes sense now. Okay. All right. So on this Discord channel, okay. Now he's got to run me through it, okay, because I am literally the Martian that was just dropped off here, and I've got to learn Discord. So he's going to walk me through how we can post and do stuff on there. We're going to start it out so it's actually open to everybody, but we're going to do different levels and things so that way the channel members have, special access and content and things like that. And we'll be talking about fantasy football and people that you may want to start and so forth, right? And play or
we've got the way I have it set up. I'm working with the bots right now. There's when you come in, you'll go to welcome, you'll go to the rules, which our rules are pretty basic. It's not a big old listed thing. It's for context. Before I hit the wheelchair, when I was 27, 28, I was a bar owner. Well, 25% and GM. And one of the things that was big for me was the bar rules, and that's what our rules are here. No politics, no religion, just football, life, entertainment, and having fun. Treat each other with respect, grow the community together, and come have some fun. That's all it is.
Can we add one more rule to it?
We can add whatever you want to it.
Have a take and don't suck.
Have a take and don't suck. And if you're going to talk shit, back it up.
There you go. Okay. All right. So we'll be able to kind of put questions forth on fantasy football and stuff. So does it work like Twitter? I've never actually, I downloaded the app. I actually yet to be on there because there's no like-minded individuals out there that have asked me to actually be on one. So I have never seen it. So is it kind of like Twitter where you're making comments back and forth and it's just like a limited group?
You've got your Marco Polo group with Jet D and the boys, right?
Yeah. We said video conferences and complaining about our wives.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
I don't know about the video conferences, but it basically be like that. It's just a group chat where you can use GIFs. You can use just chat. There's all sorts of things you can do with it. It's just a social chat. When you come in, everybody will have access to the Jobu Sports Report general chat where they can talk about real life. They can talk about football, whatever they want to. And once we identify somebody as a channel member, then I can assign them that role, and then they can have access to the Jobu members only group chat. They can have access to for fantasy football purposes. We've got the Jobu's Fantasy Football section that's built up, and it's got a general discussion area. It's got waiver wire questions, start sit questions, trade questions, dynasty questions. It's got different subsets for all those things so that myself and some other people maybe.
Lost you there.
Probably don't like using the phone. Sorry about that, but I'll have different people that I trust that all have fantasy football. Nobody's an expert. Nobody can predict the future. You take the best information you have, and some people put a lot more into it than others. And I'm going to have people in there that, if I'm not able to get to it, I trust them to answer questions that they can get to. And that'll be the Jobu's Fantasy Football Guru. So for channel members, because I'm not going to be spending my time on random people from the internet, but for our community, we'll be in there helping them with some of their fantasy football questions and trying to help them have a better fantasy football experience.
Now you're also, because I know you're in a bunch of different leagues and things, and I know you're talking about, is it ESPN League or what was the league that you've got?
Well, that's circling back to the community aspect and why I got started. I got started in a work league, and I was actually in that league for 17 years up until 2019. And I've been running my own league with fraternity brothers, family, friends. Been running that for about 10 years. And we different variations of incentive levels. We bet 125 Jobu wings a team every year, and winning team gets 700 Jobu wings. The second place team gets 300 Jobu wings. Third place team gets their money. Their Jobu wings back at 125. And
wait, I don't remember filling those orders.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. But I'll get
700 Jobu wings. That's a lot of wings.
One of the things that you run into in fantasy football, if somebody's eliminated, they'll just give up. So people that play them at the end of the year get easy wins. I don't like that. You're not going to get an easy ride off of me. I love playing spoiler. So one of the incentives in my league, the highest individual score during the regular season. So it could be the last week of the season. If you get the highest score, you get your 125 Jobu wings back. But the community, I'm no longer in that one that I was in for 17 years. I do run my family and friends one. I bumped my brother-in-law out. at the end of the season from the number 1 seed, and he came back and beat me with Alvin Kamara on Christmas Day. But I found my friend Alex Marino, Fantasy Football Hustler, towards the end of the season last year. YouTube algorithm kicked me over to him. He's got his unique style that if you discover him, you'll figure it out. But he's one of my favorite people. He's in California, so yeah, nice little flavor. His community, I enjoy it so much. I've made friends that I talk to, and it's led to. So I'm choking up because the two things that I enjoy putting my time into is my nonprofit Dream to Walk and fantasy football. If I'm not listening to you or Law Nation or Vosh or E2 or any Skywalker, DMV yesterday, caught DMV. If I'm not listening to my Cowboys content creators, my Cowboys family late at night, then I'm listening to fantasy football stuff or music. But Dream to Walk and fantasy football are the things I like to put my time into, and the two have kind of kissed this year. Through Alex, number one, I got to know Alex, similar to me and you, where I talk to Alex. I can pick up my phone and I can call him up. I helped him with his draft kit that he did for the year. We've become friends, and he started up a league. It's a charity league with it's got a couple of our people from that community that support what we do, the foundation, but it's got Smitty from the Fantasy Football Show. I've sent you some of his stuff before. It's got Adam Rank, James Coe, and Marcus Grant from NFL Network type of things. And that whole league, all the proceeds are benefiting Train to Walk. That's and great. Through him, a friend of his, Bogart Scott Free, who I've also started to get to know. He's a pretty cool cat out in California, San Francisco fan. He was looking for a charity to represent in a 14-team league. He's one of Alex's buddies. And Alex told him about what he was doing with Train to Walk. So now Bogart is representing Train to Walk in a 14-team charity league that has Darren Waller, Danny Woodhead, Coach Hugh Jackson, Andy Holloway from the Fantasy Footballers, and all sorts of different celebrities in it. So my two things that keep me going are meeting together this year. It's going to be fun. And then we're doing this with Jobu, the Jobu Sports Report, and the members. You don't have to play fantasy football. If you want to play fantasy football, if you already play fantasy football, or you want to learn about fantasy football, and you're a channel member, come on down. We're going to have this set up so that by the time the end of July gets here, we're able to help you navigate the drafts in your season and do the best that we can for you and for us.
Okay. So if I want to...
Community aspect. It's all about the community. The community is... The whole argument, I don't want to root for another person's team. In the man cave, you got all that Cowboy stuff, right? You got all the autograph stuff. Yeah. You have anything in there that's autographed by team?
A few pieces, not very many.
Because right, but you're fans of that individual player.
Because
not the whole team.
Mainly because I've done work and stuff with him, and I know him on a personal level more so than at a football level.
For whatever reason, you're a fan of that individual person, not necessarily the team, but you're a fan or friend of that person. And I kind of look at fantasy football that way, with the whole, well, I can't root for this team. I got some of those biases. Everybody has biases. There's a lot of the teams. I mean, you can't pass on Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, I can.
Well, you can. I can't when I'm trying to win money. I mean, when I'm trying to win
wait. There's money involved?
I'm trying to win Jobu wings.
Wait. There's money involved?
I'm a hungry man. Gambling is not smart, so I cannot confirm nor deny the existence of money in any fantasy leagues that I play in. But there's financial incentive involved. Anywhere from $5.
Wait, you telling me? Hold on, stop right there. You're telling me things that aren't legal in Texas, it's gambling, is not? Gambling?
We're Texas, man. We ain't got no gambling. What the hell's going on out here? We're going to be one of the last ones to pass the duchy from the left-hand side with our neighbors without worrying about that shit.
All right, so I tell you what, we've been on for a bit here. We don't want to overwhelm people with the knowledge, but this is just kind of an introduction to start getting people um, to just kind of get a basis, start getting a little bit of maybe desire to try it and all that. What would you say is the best thing to do to get started?
Well, for right now, find us on Discord, Jobu Sports Report. Jobu is all one word, Jobu Sports Report. Easiest way you're going to be able to find me. We're just getting started, so it might not be as active as it will be as we get closer to the season, but we'll figure out a way with the channel members that might be interested. We can maybe, depending on how many people are actually interested, we could do a free league or two where we give away prizes like Jabardis and shot rack glasses, stuff like that, whatever we figure out on the side.
So what I'll do is I will get I'll put the link in the description for everybody who wants to check out the Discord thing. Are you available on Saturdays for us to do like a weekly fantasy football show? And as we get further down the line, maybe do some, closer to the season, do some live so we can have questions from like channel members and things?
Yeah, over the course of the next month or so, you can probably look for. I'll drop it in the Discord chat or have you upload it on yours. But I'll be doing a couple of podcasts with Bogard, Scott Free about the charity league with Darren Waller and all the other celebrities that are. I might be doing something with other people, and we'll post those between now and July. But when July gets here and closer to draft season for draft and whatnot, and definitely when the season gets here on Saturdays, we'll be here and we'll do our best to give you the best educated guests based on playing since 2001 and just stat overload and watching football load.
Okay. One question here, because we may be opening up a can of worms. Because you're saying we might have a Jobu's Fantasy League. What happens if we get like 30 or 40 people that want to be in the league? That's more than you can have for a league, correct?
The way, and I'm not doing anything, but the way I see it in my head would be doing redraft leagues, 12 team leagues, and it would just depend on how many actual channel members want to play. And if we have 30 some odd people, then we'll do 2 or 3 leagues. If we just have 12 people, we'll do 1 league. It depends on the interest of the channel members. We'll use the ESPN platform, which is easy, possibly sleeper. I'll talk with some of my fantasy people about the best direction there, and we'll get that set up. Probably look for that end of July, early middle of August type of area. I like to do the redraft drafts closer to the season, so you want to have as much information as you can going into the draft. People getting injured, people getting traded, people getting cut, people shining and stepping up. You want to know all that. So redraft, which is what we'll do. We'll get the feel for how many people want to do it, and we'll get those in late July.
All right, that sounds like a winner. So, Stuart, I appreciate everything you've done here. So, if I want to get started and I want to draft, say, Tyron Smith, is that a good move?
Well, not unless you expect Tyron Smith to convert to wide receiver and get a bunch of touchdowns. I don't see that happening. You need a skill set. Wide receiver, running back.
So I can't get any love from my linemen in fantasy football?
Oh, no, you love your linemen. You get your hands on Zeke. You love Tyron Smith opening up holes for him.
Okay, all right.
With the offense, Dak and the boys can't do what they do without those O-linemen.
All right, I hear you on that one.
Don't ever disrespect the O-line and the D-line. They do grunt work, but you can't use them in fantasy. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right, everybody. So you've gotten a little taste of fantasy football from my man, Stuart Morrison, my fantasy football expert. And breaking news, we're going to have a Discord channel. We'll put it in the description of the video here, so that way you can definitely check it out. And maybe you can teach me how to use my own Discord channel.
We'll get there, but let me correct myself real quick.
Okay.
On defense, not for our Jobu leagues. We're just starting this. Maybe getting into next year, we'll get into IDP. But there are leagues that have individual defensive players. So on our defense,
man,
you can grab a
sounds
guy
like
like
a lot
Michael
of work.
Parsons. Yeah, it adds an extra element for the more hardcore people. But it's I mean, you can use a lot of our guys. I'm looking forward to seeing what Michael Parsons does. I got it, I think every league except for one that I'm playing in IDP leagues, I got Parsons.
So IDP leagues, that's another new one for me. All right, so look for next Saturday. We'll be doing our second edition of Ball for Dummies, and as you heard, we now have a Discord channel. I guess we're kind of expanding and trying to bring you guys all the news that you want on your team, on the Dallas Cowboys as well as other teams. But you know what time it is.
Yes, sir.
Did I turn it down too low? I actually have it down too low.
No, I can hear it.
On music? All right.
That was a good time, boss. I'll see you next Saturday.
See you guys.